If you like using the best guns in Escape from Tarkov, but are tired of using the same exact guns and same exact builds over and over and over again, in this video, we are going to talk about why the M4 is my favorite gun in Tarkov, because there are so many builds that are incredibly usable. They all look different, and you might be surprised at how close to meta they all are. I'm Jessekazam. Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. If you like this video, drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps me out a ton. I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And I want to thank the sponsor for this video, Juju. Juju is an energy formula designed specifically for gamers to increase reaction time, energy, and focus, all without providing any sort of hard crashes at the end. They have a ton of really unique flavors that are all really, really good. Blue raspberry is my favorite. I've really enjoyed working with these guys. This stuff really works, and we've had some awesome response from the community, from all you guys that have tried it out. So if something like that interests you, you can use code Jessekazam at checkout for 10% off your order. With all this stuff out of the way though, let's go ahead and dive into the video. So right off the bat, as a disclaimer, this is not a budget gun build video. I have been thinking about making this video for a while because a lot of times on my streams, I'm using like really crazy M4 builds, and people are always asking what it is or what the stats are or something like that. But these definitely aren't budget guns. I've done a lot of those guides. These are going to be expensive. These a lot of few key parts that if you use the meta, everything else around it you can change and you still get really good stats. And at the end of the day, if you're the kind of player that just wants to use the absolute best of the best of the best meta every raid, that's awesome. Go for it, right? It's a video game. It makes sense that we want to work up to using the best gear and then only use the best gear as long as we can afford it. That makes sense. I've just played the game enough and long enough that I like changing it up and using different stuff. I feel like a lot of this game was built around this weapon modification system, the realistic mods and attachments that you can put on these guns, and I just like using cool different builds. And that's why a lot of times when people ask me what my favorite gun is, I always go back to the M4. It has nothing really to do with the ammo or the fire rate or anything that makes a gun meta, but the fact that I can build so many different versions of the gun, like aesthetically, and still be really close to meta and very, very usable. So as far as I can tell, these attachments change all the time and stuff like that, but this is pretty much the meta M4. We've seen it a lot. Not a whole lot of people run unsuppressed because it's loud and because the muzzle flash is pretty hard to see through when shooting. But as far as I can tell, 32 vertical recoil is just disgusting. This is, I mean, it's super fun to use, but this is basically the meta M4 that you can use in Escape from Tarkov right now in 12.9. And there's so many other builds that get you really, really close to this. The other main thing that people do, and you will see this a lot in this video, is using the Thunder Beast suppressor, because that is the meta suppressor currently, and that might change in the future. But that puts us at 33 vertical recoil. So that is another reason why people go suppressed a lot, because it only is going to add 1 vertical recoil to it. So this is basically the meta one. And what you'll see is the key through most of these builds that I'm going to show you is that if we pick a few parts that are like, you know, meta, a lot of everything around it can change. And those being, in my opinion, I'll basically always build an M4 with the MUR upper receiver. The MUR, it just gives the best stats for recoil, and it's kind of like the foundational piece where it doesn't change anything aesthetically. So it's just a really easy thing to slot in there. Once again, not budget. To get some nice recoil. And then the Thunder Beast suppressor. The Thunder Beast suppressor has a ton of vertical recoil reduction, and that is going to give you a ton of recoil reduction there. The MUR upper, and then we can change barrel length, we can change butt stocks, like, because the PRS is technically meta, but if you rocked like an MOE with the butt pad, you're only at like 1 additional recoil. You can even rock the AKE1, which is what last wife's meta was. There's a lot of different things you can do. So here we go, stock standard. Something even simple I like to do with like these is just throw like an M-lock or something like that on it. It changes it a ton. But we can go through some of my favorite M4 builds here that I use all the time. So the Mark 10 is something, this is always something that people in the chat either love or hate. I love the Mark 10 little handguard here. It's one of the few that allows you to put the Hera Arms CQR tactical grip on, which I like a lot. This is 39 vertical recoil. So in my opinion, yes, 39 over is only, it's 39 is only like 6 more vertical recoil than you were getting with the meta one with the Thunder Beast. In my opinion, a gun is incredibly usable under 40 recoil. 40 or below for an M4 is very, very usable. That's like almost too good. And all of these builds are going to be at 40 or under 40 vertical recoil. So something like this, something that you wouldn't think you'd be able to do with an M4, make a really short barrel, the 260 millimeter one. We're going back to a different buttstock with the HKE1, the Mark 10, the Hera Arms, and this is a really short M4 that's like great for like resort or clearing dorms or something like that. A lot of times the really, really long ones, you can get barrel stuffed quite frequently, but I like the short. I like the aesthetic of the Thunder Beast kind of underneath the handguard here. And this has always been a super fun build for me. Again, one of those other parts is the advanced buffer tube. Sorry. So the advanced buffer tube is another thing that I'm going to put on basically every single build for the slightly better stats, because once again, that allows us to change the aesthetic things around it, the upper receiver and the tube, the suppressor, and then we can mod everything around it, and you basically can't lose. You basically can't miss. You're going to end up around the 40 recoil mark every time. So the Mark 10 is a super fun kind of like shorter barrel M4 with one singular 10-inch rail on the bottom, which means you can put a flashlight and a foregrip on it. 60-round mags. I don't like using the other 60-round mags because they clip into the Hera Arms, and I just can't stand it. So a lot of times I'll use these even though the other ones might be meta. Another M4 build that we can take a look at is the LVOAC is another one that you either love it or you hate it. The aesthetic of the LVOAC handguard here, I like it a lot. And we can kind of use the MOE stock that kind of matches the LVOAC. Get a little aesthetic there. The SE5 foregrip is almost just as good as a Fortis Shift. If we tried to slap a Fortis Shift on there, you'd only get one additional recoil. So that's just something you don't see very often. Once again, this gun is at 39 vertical recoil. We're using the longer barrel, the 370 millimeter one, same Thunder Beast suppressor, same MUR upper, but we swapped over to the MOE stock. We've got the LVOAC handguard, we've got the SE5, and we're at 66 ergo and 39 vertical recoil. The MOA takes a little bit of a hit, but you know, it's still an M4. The gun, the rounds fly fast. This is another solid one. You can build some pretty long M4s as well. And so I've named one of them the Long Boy. And this is kind of like a long barrel, the 18-inch barrel. You've got the suppressor as well. You've got like the Ion Light. It's kind of like the TX15 vibing handguard. The Cobra, once again, these are just aesthetic changes because once again, look, with the Cobra, not meta, 39 vertical recoil. Like any one of these, yeah, you could slap an RK2 on and get it down to 35 or whatever. But that's kind of the whole point, is that we're still hitting the mark here on insanely low recoil, and we're swapping it out. We've got the PRS on here. The Raptor charging handle is just like for like an ergo or two. You don't have to pay for that if you don't want to. I've left that in almost all these. With the longer barreled M4s, because I know they're going to be a little bit harder for like clearing corners, one of my favorite things to do is to put the JP Enterprises mount, the Voodoo, and the Delta Point. I personally love this combination because I love being able to swap between a 1X, which is the Delta Point on top. The 1X of the Voodoo is like a 2X. You definitely get some zoom when you scope through that. So I like being able to get the 1X, the 2X, and the 6X all without having to cant my gun. I don't like canting the gun. I don't like losing the peripheral vision on my side. Now you definitely get into some height over bore scenarios here with the Delta Point on top, but I really, really love this setup. And this allows you to basically engage any distance. Something like Reserve, where you could be in an instant having to shoot somebody super close, you know, sniping somebody at the dome. I like the aesthetic of it. I like the function of the fact that it's a longer barrel. So I'm giving myself the option to, you know, take longer shots and stuff like that. This is a super fun one as well. And it just keeps going. I've modified some of the ones that you can get off the Raiders because I liked the way that those aesthetically were looking at first. I think I think this one. Yeah, so this is kind of like the Raider M4 that you can get off of Reserve. And I just kind of modified it, added the longer barrel and the longer handguard here. You can use this is something that I like to do sometimes, once again, just for aesthetics and fun, but the T1 aim point on a riser, and then you throw like the slim lasers underneath. It just kind of gives it a cool vibe. The Fortis Shift is, the great, I think it's the meta one for Ergo. And right here, this is the most recoil we've had in any gun, and it's 40 as opposed to 39. Like, these look so far away from the meta ones, right? And you can do a bunch of stuff with them, and you just, like we said, you can't miss, you can't lose. You're ending up at the 40 or 39 vertical recoil every single time. And these weapons are super functional. You can try to build some. I tried to build like one or two that were kind of like kept Ergo in mind. The thing is, though, is that basically every single one of these has decent Ergo and has decent recoil stats. Like, this one's got a little bit more. This has 44 vertical recoil, but I tried to build it all the way up to 76 Ergo. I could probably, we used the blackout suppressor here because I think it's got a little bit more Ergo for the recoil. But once again, 44, in my opinion, is very usable. 76 Ergo is going to be super snappy. The battle mags help with that too. I think they have one of the lowest Ergo hits out of some of these magazines. Mostly everything else is the same. You can use the GLR stock just to be different. And you're in that 44 vertical recoil. I mean, once again, you could do whatever you want. The stock alone changes that from 44 to 37, and it takes it from, the 70s down to 66. You decide how important that is to you. There's so many different options here. And where the M4 is at is it just kind of works. Another one that a lot of people don't use often is this crazy looking Hera Arms pistol grip buttstock combination. Once again, 39 vertical recoil. This is a kind of another like short one. You can use the canted grip if you want. That helps so that you're not clipping through with the 60 round mags, which is kind of what these canted grips are made for, with the bigger mags so that you have room to unload them and load them back in. And Thunder Beast suppressor, shorter barrel, the shorter QD rail, and you're still in the 39 vertical recoil. 44 Ergos, not great. Once again, you could swap these out for, a battle mag, and that gets you to 58 58 Ergo. But this is way cooler, right? So another M4 build, 39 vertical recoil. So, I mean, you guys kind of get the gist here. Like, what I'll do is I'll have a screenshot down below for each of these builds if you want to use them in the description, because I know a lot of people ask when I'm rocking these, like which ones they are. But that's it. I don't want to spend too much time. You kind of get the point. I think a quick note about the M4s and where they are, like, this is exactly how I want a lot of the guns to be. And I think this is how they want the guns to be as well, where it's less about like, there's just one singular build that's meta and everything else seems super far away from that, which is oftentimes why I struggle with the HK, because the singular HK build that gets you 32 vertical recoil or whatever it is dope, but it doesn't seem to be that there's very many other builds out there that are super functional or fun. And so I like where the M4's at in that sense. I think across the board, the recoil might be too low. You know what I mean? Like, I think I've talked about that. I think a lot of other content creators have similar things where the recoil in the game is just a bit too laser beamy. So like, in a world where the meta guns like this were, it was 59 vertical recoil was close to meta, and then maybe 53 or 52 or 51 was meta. I think that might be a little bit more fun, but just the M4 platform as it currently stands seems super fun because you can get a few pieces in there, build around it, and always end up with something super, super functional. 44 vertical recoil. I mean, like, a meta FAL has got like 70, a meta AK-103 has got like 66, like 44 even, which was the highest highest recoil of any of these builds. It's very, very usable. So I hope that this is just showed you something new. I hope if you're out there like me, you've been playing Tarkov for a while and you're just looking for something to break up the monotony, maybe switch back to an M4 or something like it, mess with the gun builds. Comment down below if you would change any of the parts in these, or if you have a build. Our Discord channel has a favorite gun builds channel where people just post all sorts of stuff that's really off meta, but still fun and super usable. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully this gave you something to do or try or look forward to. And hopefully maybe I see some of these M4s out in the wild and that you use these to have some fun playing Escape from Tarkov. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out the video. If you liked the video, please drop a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps me out a ton. Like we said before, I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, the Discord community we have is an awesome place to be. I'll link that below as well. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.